Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this afternoon, let's talk briefly about Prime Minister Andrew Holness, because or do I have to say Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, that and his pronouncements actually that Jamaica is fiscally in a good position, is in the best shape fiscally than that it has ever been in, right? He's suggesting, the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, is suggesting that Jamaica's economic standing at the moment is one of the greatest that the world has ever seen. That is what he is intimating. And I am really wondering if Andrew Holness, Dr. Andrew Holness, is losing his mind. I'm wondering if Dr. Andrew Holness is living in a delusional world. But that is the sort of delusion and that sort of mentality that often comes out of Jamaica. And what is very sad to see is that he has this huge followers, or following, I should say. He has this huge number of followers who think that what he's saying is correct. And I dare say that this neoliberal philosophy, which is now a secular religion, is something that we have to really delve into and look at carefully. And I would, recommend to all of my viewers, to all of my, ruminators right here, that you will also investigate as much as you can this neoliberal philosophy, which I call a secular religion. So let me just give you, just before, without further ado, let us delve into what the Prime Minister had to say about the economy so that you can hear from the horse's mouth. Shall we? Let me go back. Sorry, let me go back because I think I need to pull up the sound has to go up, and I did not, correct the sound before I came online. So just, I beg your pardon. I mean, because I want you to hear very um keenly what he's saying. I want you to have all your ears perked up to hear, to listen to what the Prime Minister has to say. Okay, well, it's 100%. So let us go now. Let me rewind so that you can hear what the Prime Minister has to say. Sorry about the technicalities.
Jamaica is fiscally fit. A couple of signs that you could use to judge the strength and resilience of an economy. The first sign is the ability of the economy to continue to generate jobs for its citizens. And Jamaica has done incredibly well in this. We have the lowest unemployment rate, practically close to full employment. The other sign is the ability of the government to produce a budget without raising taxes. And, this government has gone several budgets now, I believe 9 budgets, without having to come to the people to say, hey, we did manage the affairs of the country that well. Things went awry, and therefore we have to come and take more money out of your pockets. This has never happened under our administration. The third sign of a strong and stable economy is its ability to manage and reduce debt. And Jamaica has done incredibly well in this. We are seen as the case study for debt reduction. At the end of this budget, we will be below 70% debt to GDP ratio. This is the lowest we have been in over 30 years. The fourth sign is that our foreign exchange rate trades fairly stable and is market determined. And the truth is that Jamaica has never experienced this level of foreign exchange stability, though we have a freely traded, freely floating currency, probably the only freely floating currency in the region. And the fifth sign of the stability of our economy is that we continue to have more quarters of growth than no growth. And when you put all of these together, it shows a strong and resilient economy. And these are facts that are undeniable. So even the most biased and jaded commentator can't deny it. truth is, Jamaica is fiscally fit.
Yeah, and what a wonderful pronouncement by the Prime Minister. I hope you're listening to what I'm saying. I hope that my things are back in progress. Let me stop sharing this information. Now, the Prime Minister is suggesting, that Jamaica is in a healthy position economically. And he cited some factors, 5 factors for which he considers Jamaica to be in a financially good standing, a financially healthy position. But when you look at the state of living of the people, you really wonder, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? First, he's looking at unemployment rate, that our unemployment rate is so low, right? It's almost like we're fully employed. In Jamaica, people are fully employed in criminality. People are fully employed in criminality. And that is why I'm saying that there is a symbiotic relationship between criminality and the government and the state and the Jamaican state. When you look at the fact that we are not producing nothing of substance, anything, we are not producing anything of quality, anything of substance, or we are running huge deficits across the line. Almost everything is imported into Jamaica, yet we are running at a rate in which we are fully employed. Jamaicans are fully employed. The unemployment rate is low, because that is to tell you that there is a sinister agenda, and that you have what you have behind the scenes. The criminals are actually taking over or have taken over the Jamaican society. A case in point is recently a 15-year-old young miss, was brutally murdered and was also raped in her apartment while she was sleeping. And, one would have thought that this is by somebody of unsound mind. That is what the papers, but sometimes you can't really believe everything that the papers tell you, because they also support the government and they are backative of what the government is doing or not doing. All right, so you have to also bear that in mind. So you read everything with a grain of salt, the ability to think. Now, the young miss was brutally murdered, and I said she was raped before she was murdered, obviously. And the rumors, the allegations coming out of that community, I think it's a community in Spanish Town or St. Catherine, somewhere there in St. Catherine. And the rumors coming out of that community is that the mother was aware. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that she was or she wasn't. I'm suggesting that these are allegations. And we have to also listen to allegations, not to believe in them, but even things coming from the government to are allegations. And we have to just bear them and take them with a grain of salt. Right? But it doesn't mean, therefore, that you should not keep that in mind as you gather more information. Then you put the pieces together so that you can come up with an understanding of what the truth is or is not. Got it? So the fact of the matter is that what we see here is that the allegations are that the Don man in that community was having an affair with that 15-year-old girl, and the mother knew. That is what I understand the allegations are. She knew about it. Right? And in many cases, a lot of times these things happen in these garrison constituencies, if truth be told, because these are area dons. They are able to get whatever they want. And if they need a mother's daughter, or even son, I understand, they can have them because the government can't do anything. And dare they say anything, dare they make a comment about what took place, even if they're raped. Even if they are raped. Well, I don't know if this mother knew anything about the relationship that was ongoing, but something is amiss here, that someone went into the apartment while she was sleeping. So it has to be someone who knows about the day-to-day activities of that particular apartment, of that particular household. So it has some amount of believability in it, that allegation. However, let's go back to the Prime Minister's pronouncement that our unemployment is so low that we are almost on the verge of full employment in Jamaica, and we are not producing anything. Gross lie. And that is another sign that the Prime Minister is losing his mind. Let's talk about the taxes. He's saying that the taxes, that he has not, you know, increased the taxes in the 9 budgets or whatever number of budgets he has had since his tenure in office. And that might be so. And let's be fair, we're fair, you know, where credit is due, we have to give some credit, right? But let's also, we have to think critically. We have to be critically minded, and many of our people aren't. When we look at the levels of inflation, apart from what he's saying about the foreign exchange and the stability that we have in foreign exchange, but you have to look at what is happening on the ground, not what is happening in the or behind the walls of the finance ministry. You can't look at that because they're okay and they're getting their big bucks, right? But the people, the citizens who have to deal with these policies, with these reckless policies, those are the people that are the true stats. And they're not. The stats there are really horrific. Some hideous stats that we're seeing with people who are barely surviving. They're barely surviving, who are sometimes living in the Stone Age without any toilet, right? Or if they have an outside toilet, it's in deplorable condition. Their homes are wooden homes, right? Zinc tops. You see them on TikTok all the time. But the Prime Minister is suggesting that we are in this great financial standing, a very healthy economy, in a very minute, very small country. It's a rock. We call it a rock. If Jamaica is really a rock, a small little piece of island. And the government cannot get its act together. But it's telling us that the taxes, he hasn't taxed us, but he has taxed us through inflation. When people go to the supermarkets and they have constantly got to deal with the high prices, then all of the taxes that you have given them, the tax benefits, all of that goes through the door. All of that, Dr. Andrew Holness, goes through the door. You've got to understand that, and you have not really grasped that because you're living in your mansion and you are, toe-to-toe with these thieves at the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and their neoliberal agenda. You are in cahoots with them, and you have left the Jamaican people behind. And one would have thought, Dr. Andrew Holness, that you'd have learned your lesson from Justin Trudeau and from the people like the likes of Kamala Harris's. Right? She was trying to put on and to impose this neoliberal agenda, just like Justin Trudeau, onto the American people. And the American people would not have had it because they had enough of this neoliberal policies and the philosophy of everything is going well, we're having stability, inflation is low, we're giving some little gifts here and there, some little housing here and there, and acts of generosity and charity here and there, and that should keep you guys silent. And a few people are doing well, so yeah, the economy is perfect. And people did not want to have that, at least in the United States. And I think that if Jamaicans are thinking well, if Dr. Andrew Holness does not come with more substantive issues and ways in which he's going to deal with the inequities, the social and economic inequities that exist in Jamaica, I can't see him winning the election because he's too proud, he's too arrogant, he's too self-confident, and he's jogging whatever he's doing there. He's not even thinking. He needs to go back home and sit down and do some serious reflection. Talking about also the foreign exchange and stability and the fact that our dollar is on the flowing currency. That means that it doesn't have that sort of, stability that it should have because it keeps on floating on. It's a floating currency, right? It's a floating currency that we have on the market. And it looks like it's stable based on what we're seeing. We haven't seen it gone up, tremendously. But what are they doing? What are they doing behind the scenes to make it appear? What good economic policies are they, implementing behind the scenes? But at the end of the day, when you go to the supermarket, it doesn't really add up, right? It shows a dollar that is very weak, right? Because the people are not able to afford the cost of living in Jamaica. And we're tourists. And I said to you recently, and I'm not sure if I showed you the lady, but there was a lady traveling. She goes all around the world. She's a traveler. She's a traveling vlogger or whatever you call them, right? Travel vlogger. And she goes around the world, and she was in Jamaica with her husband. Her husband is half Jamaican. And she was there with him. And she says that she was not, in lodging her, because, she likes to explore. When you travel and you're a vlogger, you like to explore. Exactly what you want to show people around the world, what you're doing in the different countries. And she went to several supermarkets in Kingston and around Jamaica, wherever she was. And she was flabbergasted at the prices that she saw. Because she said that if they were in England, people, how do Jamaicans afford these cost of living, the high cost of living in Jamaica? Right? But that is why people have to participate in criminality. People have to participate in criminality because there's no other way. And criminality comes in many forms and disguises, right? But the Prime Minister is suggesting that our inflation rate is low and that we're having macroeconomic. He didn't say macroeconomic, but that's exactly what he was alluding to, macroeconomic stability. But what about the microeconomic stability? Do we have that microeconomic stability? I am sure that he will say no, because people are homeless, people are hungry, people don't have, money to send their children to school, right? People lack the basics in Jamaica. And thank God for people abroad who sometimes stop a little gap here or there. And these things are just stopping a little gap here or there. The people in the United States and across the diaspora cannot take care of all of the burdens of the family that the family experiences. They can't. They stop a gap here or so, but it's impossible to take care of the family. They can't. It's impossible. They have to live their lives. And in stopping that gap, many times these people have to be engaged in criminality, in acts of criminality. They do, and they do engage themselves, and mothers do sell their children to these Don-era leaders so they can eat and so that they can just live a basic standard of life. Yet still, Dr. Andrew Holness is brainwashing the Jamaican people, is gaslighting the Jamaican people into believing that his administration has one of the best, or is one of the best, if not the best performing government that we have ever seen in the history of Jamaica, with all their neoliberal policies. He has, and he is letting you know that there is no debate, that it is undebatable, because it is irrefutable. He is purporting, he's advancing irrefutable evidence to suggest that Jamaica is in fact the best economy, perhaps in the Caribbean, maybe at the world at large. Now, it seems to me that the sort of austerity that Jamaica has endured over the years, maybe since the 1970s, we have been enduring austerity, haven't we? Right, austerity, that it has become the breath that Jamaicans breathe, austerity, right? That is what they're accustomed to. And the United States is now imposing austerity on its people, and people are screaming. They're not saying it's IMF, that is imposing those austerities. Trump that is imposing those austerity. And the Democrats would have been just giving you, doling out, monies to you, right? Give you at whatever, how much you want, take it, even though the United States is also not producing anything practically more than arms, firearms. And what are they doing? They're killing people right, left, and center, including Jamaicans, right? Yet still, we hear that, the United States wants to limit the flow of the trafficking of arms into the Caribbean. Is that going to happen? How are the US citizens eating? Right? They're eating also by the shedding of blood. And they don't even understand that. They think that, oh, this is a technological, I talk to people, oh, this, and we're producing technology. Yeah, you're right. You're producing technology to kill. To kill. And it's not only that it's killing, it is reducing the world's population. But that is what we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen. That is what the Prime Minister is suggesting to us, and we have to now look carefully at what he's suggesting, look on the ground and see what is happening within people's lives. Is what the Prime Minister is saying, does it align with the reality of people's experience, their social and economic experience? Or was he just simply, talk? It's just keep talk. He was just bantering, babbling, right? Just mere babble. That is exactly what he was doing. Because I'm sure the people on the ground do not understand what he's talking about. They don't understand. He is speaking in the language of the elites, in this archaic language of the political, social, and academic elites. That is the language in which Dr. Andrew Holness was speaking. And many of us can't understand, and we need an interpreter to be able to interpret the level of suffering that we see in Jamaica as we speak. Right? And perhaps he can employ me to come there and go on the ground and interpret for him the level of suffering that we have in Jamaica. And I perhaps don't have to do it. If he goes onto social media and he sees both Jamaicans and foreigners explaining the depravity that they see in Jamaica. And one of the things about Jamaicans too, you guys deserve what you're getting. Jamaicans deserve, for the most part, what they are getting. You do get what you deserve, right? Because when foreigners, especially, and even some Jamaicans, highlight the depravity there, oh, it's in America too, and it's in your country too, or why don't you leave Jamaica alone? We are okay, and we're not the only country that has crime, and you talk a lot of nonsense, right? You talk a lot of nonsense. And you're not looking at the fact that we're so small, and that is why it's more overwhelming. Yes, there is poverty in America, and there are lots of it too. Lots of poverty. People are going to bed hungry, and I understand that. In fact, I was tutoring somebody there in Washington, D.C., and that was 2004, 2005. It could have been 2004. And then when I went to the home of the family, and the young kids had gotten up, they were, perhaps in elementary school at the time, right? They're probably in grade 7, 8. And when they came to sit at the table, and we were about to start to begin the tutoring, I was beginning to tutor them, I noticed that they were not alert. And this was about 12 o'clock. Yeah, it was 11:30, going about 12 o'clock. Yeah, 12 noon, right? And when I noticed that, I said, have you guys eaten? And they said, no. I said, why haven't you eaten? Why haven't you had breakfast? And they told me that they didn't have any food. So I had to call the father to inquire what is happening and, why haven't they eaten? And he told me that he would try to see what he could do to go to the corner shop to get some food to eat. And this was 2004. So and if you read books, and I've read lots of books on education in the United States, and there was a guy called Cole, I forgot his name, but he's an Indian American guy that would write a lot of books on the depravity that you have in American public schools, in Boston, in New York. And when you see that, you wonder if you're living in a nation that suggests that it's a first world nation, right? And the poverty through which many of the students have to, go, and that they have to endure. So yes, there is, but it is not as overwhelming. And the chances are, if you speak to the right person, that you might be able to get some help. In Jamaica, there's no social safety network. It's almost like nobody can help you. The only people that can help you really are the criminals, right? The only people who can help you, for the most part, are the criminals, or you get some crumbs from the remittances that come out of these countries where you have a large Jamaican diaspora. But I have news for you. What is happening in the United States now is going to dry up a lot of those remittances. It's going to dry up, and not only United States, but also in Canada and many other countries. The Jamaican diaspora won't have it. Many of them are also not legal immigrants, right? They were just working on the table and sending you some money, making some sacrifice. And they can't really do that anymore. There are those of them who are also legal. They had legal work permits, but they were doing something on the side that was illegal. They have to stop that. So that's going to dry up whatever funds that they probably could send to you. So the Jamaican Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, needs to get his mind together. He needs to get his thought processes together, because what he has just articulated is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And, I would like to ask the people at the intellectual ghetto, because I really wonder, the economics department at the University of the West Indies, what's the function? What is your role at the University of the West Indies? You can close on that department, the economics department, because it doesn't serve a purpose. It does not serve a purpose, because there is no one to defend and to have counter arguments against what the Prime Minister has suggested. In fact, the Prime Minister is so bold in saying that it's undebatable. The matter is signed and sealed. There is no debate. Jamaicans cannot debate it, because that is the environment in which they are operating, that they're living in this economically stable environment, an environment that is the study of the world. The world wants to come to Jamaica to see how we were able to manage our debt, even though we have not really crafted any development strategies and goals, and we have not been developing the country. I would like to ask, while I'm ending here, I think I might have asked in previous videos, but I probably need to repeat it every time. What is the Prime Minister going to do? Because I understand now that Panama has decided to give up the Belt and Road Initiative that was offered to them by Beijing. That money, huge sums of money that was used, and Panama was one of the first Latin American countries to implement the Belt and Road Initiative. But because of the box coming from Washington, D.C., they have decided that they are going to give it up, because they don't want to get any problem with the U.S. military-industrial complex. Not Donald Trump. They don't want to get into any trouble with the U.S. military-industrial complex, because they understand that the United States does not want China in the region. And I did publish a video, you didn't watch it, or maybe the YouTube didn't. And as a matter of fact, make sure you like the videos. Make sure you go now and like the video, because YouTube is not going to promote the videos if it's not liked and it's not spoken up. They're not going to do it. Right? They put it in a jail, right, so that nobody will receive it. Until you like it and you comment and you begin to interact with the video, YouTube is not going to promote the video. They're not going to send the video out into the stratosphere. That is how the system works. And you don't understand that. So what they send out is things like the gossips and what you want to listen to, because you love gossips. You love the gossips. So you don't want to hear things that are happening that are going to have the deleterious effect, and that Andrew Holness nor Mark G will be able to manage. They're not going to be able to solve what is happening in Washington and Beijing. They cannot solve it. Right? So when you see Panama ending that Belt and Belt Road Initiative, right? When you see them that they're doing that, it means, therefore, that Jamaica is next, because Jamaica is not even far away from Panama, right? They're not. And Andrew Holness does not have the testicular fortitude. He doesn't have the courage. He doesn't have anything, because when we wanted to have started a Huawei company in Jamaica under his regime, and Donald Trump was in position to, and Donald Trump told him, don't do it. And like a little boy, Andrew Holness couldn't do it. He said, okay, we're not going to do it. When it came to ending the relationship with Venezuela under Trump regime, under the Trump administration, don't do it. and that a little boy, Andrew Holness, could not engage with Venezuela. Right? So we have to remember our history and understand that the Prime Minister is just a little choir boy of the Washington Beltway system. Right? He cannot do anything. And that is why we are in the predicament that we are in, because we're not free. Jamaicans, you are not free. Economically, politically, socially, you are just not free citizens. And when you grow up to understand that and stop looking at Mark G and Andrew Holness, thinking that they're going to be able to solve the problems down there, they cannot, will not. And you just have to get up and you have to grow up. Grow up and understand that this is the fact. The truth is the truth, and you must begin to accept it, whether you like it or not. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Remember to like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people around the world and many people on the platform. Adios, hasta luego.